But yeah, no, it's an interesting, definitely an interesting type of card. Like I always find myself coming back to like the Seventh Cross characters because they have so many layers to them.
Yep.
But the cool thing I think about the Street Fighter characters is if I want to teach somebody who isn't really into board games or card games about Exceed, the Street Fighter characters are like the easiest thing to pull out and explain.
Yep.
Um,
Definitely.
like
I teach on Street Fighter when I can. Yeah.
yeah, like it's great because you can explain a wild swing or strike by just going, "Hey, you know how you button mash in games when you don't know what to do? That's what you're doing.
Yep.
That's the button mash.
Yep.
We have that taken care of for you."
It is built right in.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I actually don't know where to put this deck. I have Sajan's deck still sitting there.
Oh, it's fine. It doesn't matter. I mean,
Okay.
it's TTS, so we can always just reload if we want to. There's also a trash bag over here.
Hey, that works.
Yeah.
And then I just take the top card. Go me. Here we go.
Yeah, I just missed.
I still
There you
just
go.
took one card. Wow, I'm good at this. I believe in myself. Go there. Thank you.
All good. Well,
But no, thank you for showing me the character. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
no problem. Did you have fun?
Yeah, no, it was a learning experience. And I know Minato wasn't there, but because I think since I'm new to the community, it's I feel like the community mostly responds to the Seventh Cross characters in Exceed.
Yeah, they are very popular. No question.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think everyone can kind of find a character that they gravitate towards, but like there definitely seems to be more meme characters than other like Zolt or Minato.
Yeah, so yeah, Zolt is a meme because he has a flip side which takes 3 times as many turns as the opponent. Basically, it's kind of insane, and so that like the feel of that happening, where he's just this unstoppable thing that's constantly moving at you, or moving around the board, is comes across very strong.
But
like,
is it whatever could go wrong? I think it is, or something along those lines.
that's Minato.
On one of his cards.
Minato
Yeah.
is the meme character above all
Yeah.
meme characters. He has here we go. What could possibly go wrong? If on the Discord server you type !Minato, then it spits out that snippet of the card. What could possibly go wrong?
You know the that image in particular for some reason really reminds me of Gungrave. I don't know why. Gungrave or Big O, one of those.
Wait, wasn't Big O a mecha anime?
It is, but they're all in suits and they have
Ah.
very like sharp kind of features,
Gotcha.
and so
Gotcha.
there were also a lot of explosions.
Nice. I actually gave a friend a full season or like a full like box set of Gungrave as a is it an anniversary gift? I don't remember. But I've never seen it. I knew it by reputation and got it for him, and then was like, here, I hope it's good. I actually haven't watched it.
So to clarify with Gungrave, I'm actually a fan of the. It had 2 PlayStation 2 games.
Oh.
I don't know how rare the second one is, but all the like designs were done by the same artist and author who did Trigun. So
That was
but
the
I
connection
found
I
the
was
game.
aware of.
Yeah, so the games are super fun. In particular, I really like the tongue-in-cheek of like the second game because they add additional characters. I think one of the characters is like Johnny Red Cadillac Rocket, and he's got like the like Yakuza kind of swirl of blonde hair, and he's in like this red jacket, and he attacks with his guitar.
Nice.
And
Nice.
it's like a bullet shooter in the sense of not like Toho, but like Bayonetta or like Devil May Cry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the games are the things that resonate with me. I have seen the anime, but I always go back to the games.
Nice. Coolness. Yeah, Minato would be a hilarious character to have in an actual fighting game because he's summoning demonic vehicles to throw at people.
And eyes, apparently.
Yeah, they're interesting. It's kind of cut off on his actual art, but like the full art for this card, you can see the face of the car at the bottom, the Oberoguruma itself, and it's disturbing because it's the Oni face, right? Like it's got the horns and the long nose. You can see the eye of it.
Okay. Yeah, I can see it now. I never noticed that.
Yeah, so the full art for that, which I'm sure you have access to in some capacity or another.
Yeah, I do.
You
actually.
can see the face at the bottom because it doesn't have the text that says Minato or the boxes, and it's pretty sweet. There's
No, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Like, because I've been poring over a lot of the art and references and stuff because for those who don't know, when it comes to branding, and I'm allowed to say this, I'm supposed to look into like merchandise and you know how to make that appeal to fans of the game and stuff like that. So those small little details I think are really fun
Hmm.
to explore. Like the thing that I have open constantly is literally just a height chart of all the
Oh yeah, the
characters
one at
in
the front of the art
Seventh
book.
Cross.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's just this height chart because there's this neat part in the height chart that like tells me what faction they're all a part of,
Right.
so at least I can quick reference it.
Yes. Yeah, and it actually shows you the things that, like, so okay, you can't, like, it was funny to me when I realized none of his cards show you like more than that of the symbol on his cloak, and it's so easy
Yeah.
to miss the symbol
Hmm.
when you look at this art because the symbol's like, oh, it's kind of that faded symbol, like kind of a part of an outline, but like that sort of thing is the thing that makes me hype because it's like, oh, I know what that is because there are two other places that it appears on character arts, and it's kind of a big deal. Um,
Yeah.
but like noticing this and then getting the art book and going through and finding the arts where you can actually see the icon. Um, yeah, I'm extremely excited about Seventh Cross as a setting, as a world, as an IP. But
I am too.
I'm probably extreme as the fans go. But there are definitely a lot of folks who are like in this fandom really excited about Seventh Cross and learning more about the lore. We got somebody who's working on a Rimless cosplay actually. Um,
Oh, really?
yes, I am hyped to see that. I don't know if she's still
And
around. She probably went to bed already, but she's another
I
streamer.
wonder. I wonder if they've posted any like progress pictures or anything yet. That would
Uh,
be cool to see.
I will repost what she's posted.
Oh, that would be great.
In a
I'd
heartbeat.
appreciate that.
Yeah, because that's really exciting. But yes, well,
Yeah. So, by the way, in case anyone's curious about that rap, it might have turned into like a full song,
that is
like
amazing.
with instrumentals and stuff. We're still. So I'm working with a friend of mine named Crows. I've worked with him on a few other song projects and like skits and stuff. I'm not trying to pimp anything. I just to kind of put the connection there. But so like we were kind of having a debate because I want to do some sort of like creepy kind of intro, and then kind of build into like rock, which I know is totally far based from rap. But and he's like, I want to go full Devil Trigger, and I'm like, no, I kind of want the creep factor in there, and then the build, and then we can go into like Evanescence Devil Trigger kind of thing. Like I'm using very vague words because it's still in
Right,
still
right.
in
So
like a demo, and it's nothing official. This is technically fan made.
right.
This is
By the
nothing.
way,
I don't get paid for this. So
which set of lyrics are you using?
I started writing lyrics, so I'm
Oh,
not
okay,
using. Yeah, I'm not using lyrics from the.
okay.
Though I saw your lyrics and they were much better than the
I was gonna
procedural
ask
procedurally generated.
if it was Marco's, mine, or neither. Um, so
Was the procedurally generated Marcos? Wait, who
that's
did?
what I mean. Yeah, Marco did the one that was the
Oh,
Empress State of Mind.
yeah, that was no comment.
Nice.
Yours were pretty good though.
Thanks.
I
So
think the thing that's tricky with her is yours. So
so
the
let me.
I'm
So you can criticize
go
it as
ahead.
much as you want. By the way, I will say right up front, I have no familiarity with rap, so I knew that I was not gonna be able to write a rap song. Um,
You are totally good. It's actually it's really well done. But I think the reason that just so to clarify that I started kind of writing my own is yours talks about the games and the cards a little bit more than it does like the character, and I kind of wanna
mhm.
go more in the
Yeah,
character direction.
that makes sense. Yeah, mine is very much
Um,
a set of like it's a series of references with one exception that are not explicit. There's one that's explicit. It says Gage,
mhm,
but like with that exception, it is all very much like just barely indirect references to game components and game things. Like Affliction is one of her attacks. Black Death is one of her attacks. Charnel is one of her attacks. Carmine is one of her most iconic, most important attacks. So
mhm.
yes, that was very much how I wrote that.
And that's not to say that that is a bad thing.
Hmm.
I don't want to give you the wrong impression
Oh, no worries.
by saying that.
Hmm.
It's more along the lines of like I thought about it and I'm like if I kind of want to do this, I really want to make it like as if the character is like singing the song or
Hmm.
whatever or rapping the song, and I feel like I feel like the character probably wouldn't talk about her moves. But if you were doing a rap, it makes more sense for you to go in that direction. My thing just ended up not being a rap anymore. Instead, I ended up torturing myself. Um, and torturing Brad in the process. Because yeah, like that's probably what's gonna end up happening. I have a feeling Brad's gonna hate it. But, but yeah, so oh, thank you, by the way, for linking that. That is cool. That is neat. It's always cool. It's cool to see more and more about the community. I'm learning every day. I know I don't chat a ton in the community, and a lot of times it's simply because I'm usually working or I'm traveling.
Yeah,
So,
no
for
worries.
example, traveled last week, and then I have Fanime coming up, and then in June I have 2 conventions coming up, and then in July I have one, but it's the biggest one in the U.S. And then September I have one, and then August nothing.
Oh, so you're not doing Gen Con?
um, I thought that was September. Is it August? I confused them.
August.
I'm not doing Gen Con. I'm doing Evo.
Okay, no, that makes sense. Yeah,
So,
more than you make online.
well, not only that, I'm from Vegas, and Evo happens in Vegas,
Oh,
so
cool. That makes sense.
it's a lot easier. and my poor cat will, not be so distraught when I come home.
Oh man, good times. So what you're telling us is that you have 1 or 2 things that you have scheduled for the year.
Yes. I mean, it's not the worst that I've ever done. So, for a little bit about my background, I came from radio. I'm technically still an owner, but I'm transitioning out. I'm the owner of a radio station called 91.8.
91.8 The Fan?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, I was trying to catch it because a friend of mine messaged me earlier on the fandom who was like, wait, is that the same Kanashimi? I'm like, wait, you know who Kana is?
I've been doing that for like a decade. But we on average go to 60 conventions a year, and the most I've done in a year is 28 conventions. And the reason I was able to hit 28 is because there were at least 2 weekends, if I remember, in that year where I arrived someplace on Thursday, helped them set up, got on a plane, went to another convention.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm very much used to the travel, but I am getting older, and I'd like to slow down just a little.
Yeah, that is a crazy schedule. So currently, I'm trying to consistently go to, 1 convention a year, and it's a lot of work.
It is. I mean, to be fair, I don't know if you do work at that convention or if you do it for fun. But going to a convention in a work sense is a kind of a different beast. And don't get me wrong, I love conventions. It's just like it kind of, what's the best way to describe it without being negative? So when you do a convention, you have usually pretty long hours. So you get up at maybe 8 in the morning because you're rooming with like 4 other people. You got to get dressed. Maybe you got to do makeup, whatever. And then you spend that entire day. And then you get done at maybe around 8 p.m. And then you have to do like meetings afterwards or connect with people. And yes, that does mean sometimes like going to dinner with people, and that's quote unquote fun, but it's still like, man, I want to rest. And so you have that one meal, and then you do that for the entire con, and then you're home for 3 days, and your body goes, carbs! Ah! It's like... So it's a hard health balance, if that makes sense. Like and so that's the stuff that as I get older, I make it sound like I'm like 40 years old. I'm 28, but it's something that I'm thinking about more, like trying to make sure that I get more proper rest, and that when I come home, I'm not coming home to a bunch of dishes that I'm like, I don't have time to do this. I have to like throw in my laundry and go to bed for 4 hours and go back to the airport, So
yeah, that makes perfect sense.
But yeah, if any of you guys are going to be at a convention that I will be at, please feel free to say hi.
Well, thank you again so much for coming by. I think I'm going to wrap the stream up. Please feel free to join me again anytime. It's been a delight having you around, but no pressure at all. I understand that you have a lot going on.
Totally. I mean, thank you for allowing me to get off topic and chat with you. And I enjoyed watching the stream too, because I actually hadn't seen any custom characters being played yet. So that was a fun experience for me as well.
This was really cool. This is one of my favorites so far, pretty easily, I would say. I'm very pleased.
The person who made this one, they really I don't know if you play 14 on your in your own time,
I do
but
not. He
they
does though.
yeah I've played it for like 6 years. I could
Okay.
I could say like I'm a hyper fan of 14. I was like server second for all of like Heaven's Word on the raid tiers, and I've gone to all the fan fests and blah blah blah, and I give them way too much money.
Mhm.
But um, what I liked about a lot about that deck is that it really invoked a lot of the skills. I was actually concerned. It's interesting what you said about lucid dreaming, because when I was just looking at the stats, I was concerned lucid would be too powerful.
So let's see. Because I don't remember necessarily. Okay, so here we go. Oh wait, there's an easier way to do this. Okay. I'm gonna cheat. Okay, so here we go.
Bam.
Alright, so we got the ultras
So
over here. So lucid
lucid
dreaming.
is this one. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's interesting because it has an extremely powerful effect, but
Yeah.
as a combat card, well, yeah. My concern about it, and I think I said it best when I said, I feel like it's never an interesting decision to play this card. I feel like it's a card that you can windmill slam, and it's not. It's boring to do it.
So to kind of counter that, lucid is a boring skill. So what lucid does in the game is it gives you MP, because if you're a mage, you're trying to blast things as fast as possible and do your combo. So in the game, you have to hit lucid no matter what, just at the right time, just so you can get your MP cost back, so you can do more. Is generally how it works for most of the classes that use a skill like this. Some of them have different, like the skills do the same, but they're called something different.
Sure.
Like White Mage used to be like Shroud of Saints, and now it's something else, I think. Because why did they change it? I'm that old geezer in Final Fantasy 14. Stop changing my things. So it invokes the spirit of it, but I can understand from an Exceed point of view that shouldn't justify the card being
Well,
uh,
yes and
boring,
no.
I guess.
I mean, at the end of the day, like the card being what the card should feel like for the character to feel the way the character should feel, is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. I'm missing one. Lucid, Blizzard, Thunderfire. Between those are the three iconic elements. Those are the two ultras.
Are they over here somewhere?
Oh wait, no, hold on. I just can't count. This is 5. We're good. Yeah, that's how we know it's
That's
getting
okay. It's probably gonna late for you.
late. Yeah.
If it's 12:30 for me, it's probably like I don't know. I can't do time zones.
It is 2:37.
Yeah, that's pretty late.
It's pretty late. But yeah, so like, okay, so Fire, when we were building Fire 4, he said, so what's the biggest power number we can put on a special? And I was like, 7. 7 is the biggest. That's the biggest we've ever put on a special. He's like, what if it costs a gauge? I'm like, then it's not a special. And so we talked back and forth until we worked out this templating, which is a special that costs you a gauge, which is an interesting thing that doesn't happen anywhere else. But it might actually go up in power at this point. I have feelings about that, but we'll see, because 7 is a magic number and 8 is an incredibly magic number.
Yeah.
Anyway, but what the character felt like to me was kind of a stationary blaster who very strongly, like, had two very, very strong stances. Sorry, when I say strong stances, what I mean is, like, I felt like it mattered. It made a world of difference which side she was on. Like, this is the side where she's not throwing out damage, but she's throwing out very consistent speed, and she's setting up, like, massive amounts of resources. And this is where she's throwing out all of her spells. And her spells are things that can kill me, and that's a concern. So each card each card shape I think is interesting. Lucid's shape, if that's its role, I think it needs to be less option selecty than it is right now. Because right now what it says is return any number from gauge to hand, then draw that many. And if it returns any number, it's a cultivating tool, which means it rescues you from bad timing. Based on your description, maybe it should be more of a thing that you have to hit at the right time, and if you do nail it, then it's amazing. Which would be return all cards from your gauge to your hands, then draw that many cards, which makes it something that actually forces you to flip back to normals mode, as it were.
Yeah, I can agree with that actually, because my intuition said maybe this is too powerful. And when I was, as I said, when I was just reading the cards, seeing it in play though, and seeing and hearing your description, it didn't seem like it felt that way. So maybe that's really the route to go, is just finding a better balance, I guess, or
Mm-hmm.
you know,
It is,
so it's
yeah,
less mundane.
it is interesting because it's like it's not like it's overpowered per se. Um, like here, let me show you the relevant card. Um,
Sorry to keep you up.
oh, please don't be. I'm loving this, really. I'm obsessed with this game. So this card's shape is what I call C and D.
Okay.
Except it's actually a little bit better. It's actually a focus shape. I tried to make it C and D, but it ended up being focus. This is C and D, Season Assist. You'll notice it has a lot of 3s on it.
Yeah.
It has range 1 to 3, power 3, armor 3, guard 3, speed 3. The mistake I made, I think, with Lucid Dreaming, or at least I say I made, I mean, we both worked on all these cards. I helped with card shapes, or with number tuning, so I tuned the numbers on this, and I feel like I mistuned. Because at speed 1, this is a focus shape that is super duper safe. Focus is the normal, that looks like this.
Yeah. Yeah. I got you.
Yeah. And then C and D has actually the shape of it trades up against anything, like, this is the card of trades. It trades better, or it trades less bad against everything. So against Grasp, this wins completely. But Grasp is garbage, who cares? Against Cross, you just don't take damage, but you get a card. Against Assault, you take less damage, and you get a card. Against Dive, well, maybe you take no damage, or maybe you take less damage and get a card, maybe you trade and get a card. Against Spike, you blow up. Don't play it against Spike, don't do that. And against Sweep or Focus, it's weirder. The most interesting interaction with C and D is actually against Sweep. Because Sweep is slower. C and D loses all armor after. So, C and D actually doesn't get any armor against Sweep. So C and D deals 3, takes 6.
Oh.
But the effect on C and D says, when you would discard cards, discard 1 fewer, so Sweep's hit effect doesn't go off. So that's how it deals with Sweep. Is it goes, I'll discard fewer cards instead of taking less damage. It has that in place, because otherwise it would if it had the armor, it would perform, it would be focus shape. It needed to have a different shape than focus. So I feel like Lucid should actually get the focus shape where it says after lose all armor, or after return all cards, so that you actually have to put some effort into timing it correctly. Because at the C and D shape,
I think that would be solid. Now that you've given me that explanation too, I think that would definitely feel better from somebody who plays the game.
Yep. So then Between the Lines is the other card I'm like mildly concerned about, because it's kind of, Between the Lines is super weird. This card is not a shape that exists in Exceed right now. Like, nothing does this.
Yeah.
Because it moves during cleanup, which means this thing always can move. And I think he actually wanted to make this stronger than it is right now. The drawback is, it literally does nothing else. You sit there and you take a hit. And your opponent does whatever they want.
There's a Black Mage skill. I'm blanking out on the name. So I don't main Black Mage, just to clarify. I think I got Black Mage up to 60, and then I haven't done 60 to 70. But there is a skill where you can teleport to somebody else. It's called Ethereal Manipulation, and that's what I initially thought this was mimicking. But there's actually an ability called Between the Lines, which I haven't unlocked yet.
Yeah, so he sent me what it was, which I don't know where I put it. But yeah.
It says move instantly to ley lines drawn by you, cannot be executed while bound.
Right. So
is the actual skill in 14.
So it moves you to your own ley lines. Obviously, on this, we're not we didn't build a character to put the ley lines on the board. Instead, it has the ley lines be a thing that you play, and then if you move, you lose it. Which, that's really interesting because that's what actually to me makes the character feel immobile, even though they can move just fine. Once they drop this, they don't want to move anymore because now they have +2 speed forever, and it turns out that's really good.
That's generally how black mages are. Like, for example, that joke I made in the chat where I said something along the lines of like healers adjust. That was like my nightmare rating because I was the shout caller and I was the white mage. So like, you know, our healer was like top 10, or not our healer, but our black mage was like top 10 NA or something, and he would just not move for everything. And it's like, that's great, but did you see that our tank is dead, so you're gonna die? Like,
healers adjust, it's fine.
Exactly. Healers adjust. So, you know, initially when I saw this card, because I'm unfamiliar with those moves, I was thinking it would be more translating ethereal manipulation. It might almost be better to, instead of doing between the lines, do like substitute this for ethereal manipulation, which you rush to a target party member side and you're unable to cast if bound. So you could rush towards an opponent or towards something that the opponent has put down. Like if it's like Serena or a spell circle or something, you could try that. But I don't know if that makes that better.
I'll toss it to him. I know he suggested changing this to remove the after and make the cleanup always be add this to your gauge and move any number of spaces, which would. So I initially said that makes it stronger because to me, in my mind, I was like, well, that means that the movement is always guaranteed every single time, which is really, really good. Because right now it can be stunned by faster things. In practice, I actually realized that is not necessarily the case because this after effect lets you dodge. Meaning, like, if you're faster than them, especially if you have any kind of speed boost in play, which you probably are, right? Like, that speed 5 means you can move wherever you want to dodge their attack.
Yeah.
And then during cleanup, you can move again. But I'm like, okay, if we take off the after entirely, then it's actually super unsafe, and it becomes a thing where you get hit, but you get gauged and you move anywhere, which is actually totally reasonable. Like, at that point, I would want to give it armor, just to mitigate.
I think his intention was more making it like Final Fantasy XIV, because the only reason that a mage is going to move out of so if they're moving towards their ley lines, it means they had to move because there was something orange, so they dodged and they knew they were going to die or their healer wasn't going to heal them. So they would use that to get back to their ley lines because that's where they do the most damage. Or the substitute of that is for ethereal manipulation is I'm blasting. Oh, now I have to move because this half of the stage is being taken away and my teammates have already moved. I'm blasting until the last second. Ethereal manipulation. Haha, I made it. See, I scared you guys, but I made it. That's like... So right now the card feels more like what would occur in the game. You are trying to dodge something or get to a place where you are more powerful.
Okay, that makes perfect sense.
So that was probably the intention, but I don't know if that... Once again, I don't want to come up and see like it's like Final Fantasy XIV, so you can't adjust it to make it work better and exceed, right? I don't want to say that.
But if it feels right and it's not overpowered, then we shouldn't change it. Is the usual reasoning. I just pulled these out if you were curious. By the way, these are the two shapes of cards that are like this, other than block itself, because this is not a block. So Pookie drinks.
Oh, not Pookie. No, not Pookie.
Oh, has he traumatized you yet?
So like Chris hurt me very much so because I don't know what, I can't remember his Discord name, but Alex, who has volunteered apparently for level 99 at their booth in the past, he's currently the volunteer at Anime Central this weekend.
Oh, cool.
But
I bet I know that person. I can't. But go on.
Yeah, so he has like a gray icon with like a cross in it, like a D-pad, on the Discord. But anywho, I asked Chris, I was like, hey, pick our characters, and he pulled out Jeanette and he pulled out Pookie, and he was trying to give me Jeanette and he was trying to give the other guy Pookie, but Alex is just like, no, and then I found out like Jeanette was like one of his mains, and I'm just like, I have no idea, and this is like my, I don't know, 8th game, and I was just like, I don't know how Pookie works. This makes no sense to me. And he's not cute. He's a trap. Like, and I hate that.
Yes, Pookie is very much uncute. He's almost cute, and then he's horribly not.
Yeah, like it felt like I was being betrayed on all levels. So yes, I have been traumatized by
That seems
Pookie.
correct. He's pretty traumatizing. Um, yeah, what Pookie wants to do is do a lot of nothing and then in a very short amount of time, a whole lot of things that lead up into you taking like 10 damage. Um,
Yeah, I feel like you'd really need to know all of his cards and what they do to utilize them correctly. Like you couldn't just pick him up and be like, I get this character.
you can do okay if you read the cards as they come because his ability
Hmm.
says play boosts and that's
Yeah.
good. And then his boosts say under these circumstances you get to do more things. And so you're like, "Oh, okay. I guess I want to kind of lean in that direction." But depending on the cards you draw, you might not know enough ahead of time to set up to use him. But
Yeah.
but yeah, Drinks is a fantastic card. It is draw 3 cards, gain 2 life, keep your boost in play. And that last part is the important part. Um, and then upgrade is the similar shape. This is, by the way, not the actual art for this card. I have card alters, and for a couple of characters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you're wondering
Well,
about
that
the
makes
image,
sense
yeah.
for her. Yeah.
Um,
I did get to play her once. I actually really enjoyed her.
I think she's great to play. That's, I mean, if I really hated playing her, I wouldn't have bothered getting alters for her so that she could be playable at my table again.
Yeah, I like her, and then what's the girl that she's like a demon chick that
Natali,
adds gauge? Yeah, she's
yeah,
fun too.
so Natali is my season 1 main. I also have
Hey.
her modded in the module because same reason. Um,
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yep, so I have Ultra's Commission from Total Havoc, and for the character card on Natali and the Exceed mode on Eva, I use the Alters
Oh,
because
that's
I think they
cool.
look fantastic. And also because the original versions are basically naked, and I would just rather not.
Yeah. I can understand. It's funny because I didn't bat an eye because I've watched way too much animes back in my day, but it wasn't until Brad kind of brought up that there was some people that didn't like some of that art that I even thought about it, just because the people that I'm around, I'm not like I have a booby mouse pad, like like I'm not bothered by it as much.
Yeah, fair
To be
enough.
fair, they're covered though. It's Nami from League of Legends, so they're very comfortable. I have
That's
another
good.
one that's Sailor Moon, and like the cushion part is literally just the faces of the two cats. So there are innocent ones out there. And then
That's
I
great.
I found one a few days ago that I want to grab. It's Isabel, but she's holding two money bags from Animal Crossing. And I
Nice.
like I like I like cute stuff like that.
Oh, that's great.
Sorry,
Oh man.
I get off on tangents. My bad.
Nope, completely fine. That is the nature of the conversation. Um, but yeah, so between the lines is a different shape, but it is this shape. It is the shape of I do
Yeah,
nothing, but I get a useful tool. Um,
yeah, definitely.
and the question is basically whether it should be allowed to dodge, which would make it fine in this shape, or whether it should be like purely a reposition tool. Yeah, like this actually drags in some BattleCon strategy, which is kind of interesting, because so you've also played BattleCon, right?
I have played BattleCon. I found that it was easy to learn BattleCon because I have played some Exceed. I
Yep.
found it like was the most reasonable step. The most BattleCon I have played is BattleCon Online.
Okay, so there's just real brief. I'll mention this, which is that in BattleCon, like there's a strategic concept, which I don't think people really name very often, but it's the idea of that the later in a beat your movement takes place, the stronger it is,
Hmm.
because it means you are controlling your position for the next beat. Um, and so this card would have one of the strongest movement tracks around because it has a cleanup effect, which is after everything else has happened, you are choosing your positioning. Um,
Yeah.
so that is like very very strong. It's not very threatening because it's not an attack. It doesn't hit you. Um, but it is like incredibly good setup, which is valuable in particular if you can get to range 8 and then spam. Where is it? This Thunder 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Sonic Boom, basically. This is the Sonic Boom shape. You probably recognize it. 3 to 8, speed 3.
Oh
That's
gosh, you're right. I should have recognized that. I feel bad now. Because
powerful
like Sonic Boom's the
ish.
only thing I can think of with 3 to 8.
Yep, there are others. Low Tiger
Oh,
Shot,
are there?
but like
Okay.
they're not common. Called Shot is range 1 to 8, but it's still speed 3.
Hmm.
So like if it hits full board, there's not many things. There's a few in season 1 as well. Um, but like generally you don't go faster than speed 3 if you hit the entire board. It's not fair. um,
Yeah.
and then yeah, so like there's a 1 to 8 at speed 3, 3 to 8 at speed 3, 3 to 8 at speed 3 with actual defenses on both Guile and Sagat because they have super long range projectiles. Um, anyway, I'm rambling, but yeah, so like that's the long range projectile shape. That seemed like a reasonable thing. I didn't know anything about what Thunder 3 was, but I'm like, I feel like the character should have a super long range card, so here is a reasonable shape for it. And he was like, yeah, that seems fine.
Yeah, technically all of Black Mage's stuff is from far away. You want to be as far away as possible usually, and you
Yeah.
want to hope nobody stands on top of you because the more people that stand on top of you means the more orange that's going to spawn on top of you.
Ah. Yeah, I mentioned.
Also for
Go ahead.
Attack of Milk in the chat, I just saw your comment. I didn't get to look at Pookie beforehand. I was literally just handed the deck and I was told go.
Oh wow,
So
that is intense.
yeah.
There's some
Well,
characters that would be fine.
yeah, some characters work really well. Like I feel like you can pick up most of the Street Fighter characters and just do that. But like if I was given like I don't if I was given what is his name? Toulouse?
Turn loose.
Is yeah. I that one just has really confusing wording for me, but
Yeah.
I get it. I just think the wording's not it could be improved for easy access.
Mhm. Yeah, a lot of readability issues are things. Actually, have you played Lucia? There's a running joke with her.
uh
Lightning Girl.
Maybe. Yes, I have. I have.
All right, cool. So, the
Thank you for using pleb terms for me.
no, yeah, it's fine. I mean, it happens. You have no idea how often people confuse the words Imogene and Eugenia, um, because we have two characters whose names both look so similar. Brad, why do you do this to us? All right, um, this was not a good decision. But anyway, so the running joke is no one has ever read this card correctly. It is impossible to read this card correctly. Um, Talent Suite, and the reason for that is people look at this card. Like range 1, power 2,
Mm-hmm.
speed 6, hit
Mm-hmm.
advance 4, then you may spin 1 4, so you plus 1 power. And then they play it at range 3 or 4.
Because they think that they get the +1 power on the strike.
Because they think that it's a before effect that says advance 4. So they're like,
Yeah,
oh,
but it's
I'm at range
not.
4. It's not that, but everyone screws this up. Even like experienced Succeed players who have played Lucia occasionally flip this card at range 4 and can go, right, no, this doesn't work this way.
Wait, so if you okay, so I get that you hit and then you advance 4,
Yeah, so
but
you
then
use
is the +1 power for the next?
No, the plus 1 power happens immediately.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so hit effects happen before damage, which does matter for various reasons, but basically, like, things that give you power can be on hit effects because if you hit, then you can get
Mhm.
power, and then damage happens after that.
Cause see, that would be the thing that I would read differently. Like I would get stuck on that. Probably a more experienced player wouldn't. So it's stuff like that that I'm like starting to pick up on. That I'm like, why is this like this? Or like I'll have random questions about something. And like
Yeah.
the very first time I had friends try and explain how, like they wanted me to explain how Jeanette works. That was
Oh boy.
that was not fun. Like
Oh boy.
because I barely knew. So it was like, do I hit from here? I don't know. Like, what if I can I hit you from the spell circle? I don't think so. Like, I know better now, but at the time it was
Yeah.
very.
Yeah, Jeanette's very non-intuitive. Jeanette also has the issue of being strategically non-intuitive, because, like, this ability is a very good ability to use sometimes.
Yeah,
You don't want to spam it.
yeah, like and I mean, there's a lot of text there, right?
There
Like,
is. There
there's
really
a lot.
is.
So, and you can't really fit anymore. And I'm not being. I hope this doesn't seem bad by me saying it, but and you don't want to give a rule sheet or a booklet, right? When you give somebody what's supposed to be a pretty simple pack of cards. And I know that the seventh cross characters have a lot of layers to them, but as long as they can be as clear and concise as possible is really the best thing, and at least I'm glad that Exceed tries. If it says it, it means it. So that
Yes.
makes things a lot easier in the
Yes.
grand scheme of
What you
things.
see is what you get is a standing like design principle and templating goal. We've screwed it up a couple times. The worst offender, in my opinion, is the cards that leave play when they're still resolving, which is super weird. I'll show you. So actually, before I do that, have you seen Hadouken? You probably have.
Probably.
Probably.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So Hadouken. Hadouken is, you know. Oh, do you know how? Do you remember how I parried a card that you didn't have
Yes.
in playtesting in development early on? If I remember right, Brad will be able to confirm. I'm sure. Um, like they figured out that you could parry a card your opponent didn't have, and so they quickly started just saying parry Hadouken when developing like pre-season 1, right? Like before the game was a thing.
Oh,
As like,
interesting.
all right, I'll parry Hadouken, which means show me your hand, right? Because I'm parrying a card you don't have. But this was before
Hmm.
Hadouken existed, so now Hadouken exists, so that joke doesn't work anymore because characters actually have Hadouken.
Yeah. No, that would. Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting.
But yeah. So here's the. Oh, that's to the same one. You know. But anyway,
Yeah.
so
These ones.
I've had several people read this After Effects and be like, what's going on here? Like, this has proven difficult for people to parse occasionally. Um,
That's interesting because I don't this one to me seems pretty straightforward because it's very direct, right?
if you follow the
Like the
steps, then it makes sense. If you try to internalize it without walking through it, then I find people have trouble with it.
That's fair, yeah. Because if I just went, okay, I'm gonna return this card to the top of my deck. Okay, so this goes to my top of the deck, and then I add something to my. What do I add to my gauge? Like I could see somebody just being like,
Yeah, and the other question is why would I do that? Is a thing a lot of people ask. But if I tell them up front, if they have any idea about Street Fighter, if I go, this is so you can spam it,
yeah,
and they're like, oh, but then it's on top of my deck, so how do I strike with it? I'm like, you can wild swing. I'm like, oh,
yeah. Because
and
like
they get
one
it.
of the things too when you're putting somebody through a demo, especially if a convention is busy, right? We usually only do 15 life,
Mhm.
unless it's slow.
Mhm.
But like sometimes I won't even teach them an EX attack
Mhm.
just because of the fact that like it one it just might not come up, and two it's a lot of information to
Yeah.
process in a very small period of time.
Yeah, when I demo,
So,
I always end with like, there are a few rules that I didn't mention because I forgot or they didn't have time. They include, and I like mention things, um,
hmm.
and specifically if they seem interested in like getting the game. If they're not interested in getting the game, I don't bother with that. But yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I don't like on the. I don't really talk about reshuffling during demos normally. I don't talk about uh, EX attacks. I think there are other things, but yeah, I definitely understand that.
A wild swing, I feel like it's easy to introduce just with Street Fighter. One because of Dan, and two because button mashing.
Yes,
But I felt like if somebody, and I've never had this instance right where they've wanted to learn on the seventh cross cards.
I actually have had it
Uh,
happen. Oddly enough.
that's fair. I mean, I think it's because of the time period I've been around. Um,
I mean, at PAX South, I had
like,
it happen.
oh really? Okay.
Yeah, which was it surprised me, but then that was, I guess it was because that was when Street Fighter was first coming out, and so there were people who were
Hmm.
like, so we've played, or like, so like we're interested in this. We kind of played with the Ryu and Ken, but we want to see what the other characters are like. So can you show us like how this works on Seventh Cross characters?
Hmm.
And I asked which ones, and I think they pulled out Eugenia and Umina, and I went, oh, good lord. Um,
That's where I turn to somebody else at the booth and be like, "These guys will help you."
yep.
Like,
Oh man.
um,
But
but yeah, that would be hard. And for Attack of Milk, the other reason that I don't also teach reshuffling is because I feel like reshuffling makes a lot of sense if you know all of the cards in the 30 card pack. But if you don't, then I don't think you're going to get as much out of reshuffling the very
mhm.
first time you're starting to play. I feel reshuffling you benefit if you're searching for something specific or if you know your hand is trash in this scenario because you understand what your opponent has. So if you don't understand that, I feel like it's kind of a moot point to teach the reshuffling aspect.
Mhm. Um, But yeah, so the templating inconsistency, I nearly forgot what I was trying to point out. The reason I pulled these
Oh,
out.
sorry.
No, it's my bad. Actually, I'm enjoying it, so no complaints. But what I was trying to point out was basically like the reason this is an after effect, because I've had people go, why isn't this a hit effect? Like, it says if you hit. Why shouldn't it be why shouldn't it be hit? Why is it after? Like, well, the reason that is because we're trying to avoid a problem we had before. Improvised weapon, and also some other cards, but like that's an easy example. Says hit if the opponent initiated, return this card to your hand. So the problem we run into is this, basically. You initiate a strike. I said I reveal. Hit. If the opponent initiated, return this card to my hand. Okay, I return my attack to my hand. Wait, how much damage do I deal? I don't have a card in play. Like, there's nothing here. So this is a situation in which we have to like remember how much damage we're dealing from an attack that leaves play, and that's incredibly awkward from a like perspective of making sure the game works as a engine.
Yeah, it's not intuitive.
Yeah, like most players don't have too much trouble being like, okay, so you do 1 damage and the hit returns it to your hand, and the damage still goes through. But if you look at things as what you see is what you get, which is what we like to do with Exceed, like that's what Exceed's one of Exceed's like development mantras is, not mantras but principles is that, well, this leaves play, you don't have an attack, you don't have a power value, why should you deal damage? So that's a bit of awkwardness. So we've had a few of those happen in Season 2. We've ironed most or all of them out in Season 3, I think. But, yeah. And Season 1, of course, is rife with templating errors. I'm sure you've already learned that it has that reputation. That Season 1 has a bunch of stuff that's templated really awkwardly.
I mean, it's good to know these things because, like, this is more. So this is the stuff that I'm more unfamiliar with. Like, in terms of marketing and things like that, I have a decade of experience. But in terms of game development and design, it's kind of like zero. I like video games. It's good. I'm like that kid that goes, I like turtles, but it's like I like Final Fantasy.
Hey, that is fine.
But you know, for me, it's interesting to see all the bits and pieces that kind of go into this and like the thought process too, because. I can be presented these games and I can go, whoa, this is a lot. Like, there's a few games I've gotten a chance to prototype, and I won't go into detail, obviously. But you know, I'll hear somebody explain everything, and everyone else picks it up really quick, and I'm just like, my eyes are just wide, and I'm just like, I'm in a fever dream, like you know, and it's just because like, so it's both a con and a pro for me, because the whole idea of me being a part of the company is to make sure that brand visibility increases and that the barrier to entry is lower. That doesn't necessarily mean the games are easier. They just need to be, well, you just need to understand them. So I want to clarify that. I'm not going to come into your games and make them easier. I promise.
No worries. I mean, a game can be easy to play and still be deep. Like,
yeah,
like
exactly.
Ryu is an easy character to play. And a very deep character to master, and he's a fantastic piece of design work for that very reason. Like,
yeah, I'd argue quite a bit of the Street Fighter characters are like that. I can't think of any that are particularly difficult to play.
Chun-Li is probably, or Chun-Li, Vega, and Dan are probably the hardest.
So Dan is interesting. So because what exactly does this card say? It's something like crit. If you crit,
your
get...
attacks have critical +1. Or sorry, your wild swings. Let me pull it up.
Yeah, because if you've started with Ren and Ken or Ryu, I was gonna say Ren or Kyu. If you start with the two that we give out for demo decks, right? You might not necessarily have been taught crit in the demo, depending on who taught you.
Yeah, depending on how busy it was.
Yeah, depending on how busy it is and things like that. So you might see this, and you can just, on Ryu and Ken, you can just take an action. So you might go, it says on a crit, so does that mean I just auto get the crit, or do I still have to spend for the crit?
Yeah, people have asked me that many times, actually.
Yeah, and it's just because you've learned on, I don't want to say the easier characters, but you've learned on those introductionary characters, and they don't have a part of them that deals with that aspect, right? So, that's like the only thing I can think of that comes to mind with Street Fighter. I personally found Vega um, really easy for me. I like characters with a lot of movement
Oh,
personally.
he is
Like,
that.
yeah, I respond if I can move a lot and like flip over you. I don't care if I'm like hitting you for one, like, but if I can get away from you, that's great.
Nice. Well, yeah, Vega and Chun-Li are natural fits for you personally then.
Yeah, those are the two that I do really like.
Mhm. That makes
Cammy's
sense.
pretty good too. I
Yeah.
wanted to like see Viper more. She makes sense for what she does, but sometimes I feel like if I just don't get the right cards for Sea Viper, I just
Yeah.
get trounced.
Consensus at the moment, or rather not consensus, but she has developed a reputation as being very difficult to actually execute. Like,
Hmm.
which is funny. I thought she was easy, but simple does not mean easy. So she
Yeah,
has a simple ability and she has simple cards, but she is not easy to actually strategize around.
yeah. I think she can be a little bit difficult to strategize.
Mm.
Words are hard. You can tell it's probably getting late for me too,
Yep.
but we've made a great mess of the board.
Oh yeah, this is spectacular. This is exactly what every game looks like at the end of a night of Tabletop Simulator. That could be true. You don't know.
And then somebody flips the table. Oh wait, there's Spider-Man. I
Yep.
forgot about Spider-Man.
There you go.
Then somebody needs to like spoil end games too. No, I'm kidding.
Have you actually seen this board in action? Because you'll notice that every space has a snap point that
Oh
is wrong.
no, that's not an actual thing. That
That
is
is
an
an
actual
actual
thing.
thing. Yep. Yep.
Why?
It turns them around just to troll you.
Oh, that's really mean.
Thank you. Yep.
I've never actually played with the board. It's more along the lines of like we've had it out and we've been, haha, that's funny. Who made this?
Yeah.
And then we'll switch.
If you try to play with it, it's meant to hurt you.
Oh well, a lot of things hurt me in this game. But to be fair, it's I do like Exceed a lot from somebody who's inexperienced. I find Exceed works on a lot of levels. I feel like you can teach a wide variety of players, and I think the community is really great for it. Now, when I actually have to like sit down and start learning Millennium Blades seriously, I think is when I'm gonna like cry because that
Millennium
is.
Blades is actually like super easy going though. So there's a
I find it because it's a deck building game. I feel like you need some sort of previous experience with deck building
um
in some form.
maybe it depends on how you're taught. Because like the first round, and if you want to play sometime, let me know. But like it is designed such that if you're new to the game, there is a first round that is just there to show you here's basically how a tournament works, and then deck building is like you get kind of a streamlined sense of here's what you should be doing, here's how you're doing it. Um,
I will say, out of all of the games, I messed up my deck so bad that I just went, I'm just gonna lose. You can finish playing with crows, Marco.
oof, rough.
Because like what did I do? I grabbed like some of I forget the characters. They were the ones that looked like warrior chicks from I think it was a partnership with Japanime, and
Oh,
I was
actually,
trying
oh,
to.
okay. There's one set that's just a parody of that.
Oh, okay.
Because there's a
They
set
were.
that has really bad censorship.
No, it wasn't. It was
Okay.
like actual art, like
Okay.
actual real pretty art. And I got a few characters for that, but a lot of their effects are like you put the card down and then you turn them over. And then I had an accessory or a box that's like you can flip cards when you put this down or you do something or
Mhm.
something. And it's like, but you can't flip cards back up. And I didn't realize that because it just says
Oh
you can
yeah,
flip cards.
yeah. A
And
lot.
I was just like, I got through putting four of my cards down. And they all had flipped, and then it was just like you can't do that, Jackie. I was like, ah.
Yeah, yeah. That's definitely a stumbling block I've run into where it says flip a card. People don't assume it means you must flip a face up card face down. They are like, oh, so I'll flip my face down card back face up.
Yeah, that's what I
And that is
thought was
yeah, and
gonna
that
happen.
can absolutely ruin your day if you don't know that and you build a deck for it. So that's unfortunate.
Yeah, so he was Mark was like, you could try again. I was like, nah,
Yeah.
okay.
So here's the thing that makes Millennium Blades. The reason I say Millennium Blades is more forgiving, it is actually in the rulebook, printed in the rulebook. That's like okay, so there's a lot of things going on. What happens if you do something wrong? Like your turn passes and you missed a mandatory trigger, or you overpaid, or you forgot to take your money, or what happens if this happens? Like, how do you resolve it, especially in the time phase? And the rules,
Mm-hmm.
the rules are very clear in saying, yeah, don't worry about it, keep moving. Like,
Oh.
this is a game of throwing so much at you that you cannot handle all of it, and you have to make hard decisions about what you care enough about to keep track of. You will miss timing steps, lose track of things, and make mistakes, and keep moving. That is an intended part of the game.
I mean, that's cool. So to give a reference, I didn't at the time I didn't have any physical games, and I still don't have a physical copy of Millennium
Right,
Blades.
so this is Blame Market,
So
right? Sorry.
yes. Um, but like I feel like too because I think like 2 weeks in somebody I was talking about how all the worlds connect to each other. I was having a meeting with somebody, and they were like, "Yeah, you should have known that by like reading the rule book or the boxes." And I'm like, "I don't own anything. Like, I can't read those assets anywhere. Nobody's given me those assets." So like,
That
there
makes
was
sense.
there was a moment of just like where like a light bulb went on, and everybody went, "Oh." Like,
Brad
so
did fix that, right? You have a lot of things.
yes, I do. So
That's good.
I'm missing like Pixel Tactics 3 for some
Okay,
reason,
that's fair.
and I'm missing like 2 boxes from Red Horizon.
Okay,
I do have some other games that I just don't know when I'll ever have a chance to play. Like I have Witch Hunt,
that's one
and I'm like,
I've owned since it came out, and I've never played it.
I don't know when I'm gonna have 8 people willing to learn a new game in the same
I
space.
know, right?
That's gonna be a hard one, but I have most of Exceed, which is cool because I really do like Exceed.
That's
I
cool.
did get made fun of recently because I opened the boxes and then I put the cards in their tag boxes and I'm like trying to get them to fit in that little insert because it looks like four would fit perfectly
Hmm.
in the middle of that insert.
Did you figure out
They
the
do
secret?
not. There's a secret. Please tell me.
You invert the insert.
Thank you.
So
You're a
you
god.
you take it out and you put it in upside down, or you take it out and you reverse the fold so it folds the other way, and it'll fit four perfectly.
You're a god. Thank you. Because like I mentioned that to Brad and he's like, oh, you just throw away the insert, and I was like, but they won't. Then they'll move around. Like it's
That is not what we do. No. I think it
Thank you.
actually fits five if you want, but one has to go on top if you have the insert. I don't know, but I know that it'll fit two on either side if you flip the insert.
That is good to know. Like me and a friend, because we started going through them, we were going between a single box of Exceed, figuring out puzzle ways for the insert before we got to the game. Because I was like, no, I want to fit the four in here, and he's like, give it to me, and he just threw it aside. I was like, no, we got to make it fit.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
so I'm glad I'm not the only one like that. I'm glad,
Oh no.
I'm glad other people have thought of
You should have
that.
seen when like the people were getting the Seventh Cross Collector's box, which is like the big box that's the decorative. I don't know if you've seen it, but like it's a box that came from the Seventh Cross Kickstarter. That is it's literally just a big collector's box. Like it's not actually really a carrying solution. It's just
Yeah,
decorative.
it's a
It's got a big
nice
X on it.
storage
Yeah,
solution on your shelf.
it looks great on the shelf. But it's so tall that it's like terrible for actually carrying things, because if you carry things you have to stack them layers deep, which is terrible for actually accessing components. So
Hmm.
as when it came out, it was a lot of people like figuring out how do we use this thing. And so lots of Tetrising, lots of different like, oh well, we can make a foam core thing, we can do this. Like I ended up like taking the container it came in, the cardboard that it came in, and like cutting the cardboard and folding it to make the interior of the box more reinforced so that it could hold stuff, because otherwise the box was just too thin. Um,
Hmm.
but yes, like many creative storage solution interactions occurred in those days.
I will have to. I will have to. I haven't seen a picture of it. I didn't. I knew that it existed because I've gone over
Do
a
you have
lot of the
the Do you have
Kickstarters.
the stream up?
Yeah, I do.
I'll be right back.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I can understand definitely removing the inserts, especially if you're trying to consolidate space too. But the boxes are such a high quality, I really want to keep them.
Okay, I don't know how big my camera is, but
Welcome back.
hey, I should zoom this thing out, shouldn't I?
Oh wow, that is pretty big.
Yeah.
Is that the same cover as the one on the art book, or am I wrong?
So let me zoom out on this, and you'll see that I don't clean my closet nearly enough.
It's okay, my room's pretty messy right now too, so.
Okay, so there we go, ish. I think I'm actually holding it upside down. But it is not the same cover in the art book. The art book has kind of a dark red.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it uses a similar design thing. Actually, I think it looks more like this, which is the like logo on the sides. But yeah, so
That's really cool looking.
yeah. So the thing of this is like you can get a 7th cross box and it takes up like this much space, and you can put 4 of them side by side, and then they leave like this much space, and you're like, what do I do with the extra space? And then they also leave, you know, that much going this way, where it's like, oh, so you use this much of the box, but you have empty space, taking up the rest. What? Why did this happen?
I feel like Exceed needs like a carrying box or a carrying case really bad.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people have discussed their own solutions to the matter, and it's usually just getting a super hive for magic cards, or a just a big cardboard box from a like card game store, which is what I do.
I mean, from a technical standpoint, that's part of my job, so like I'll have to look into that.
Oh, fair enough.
Because I'm in charge of so Branding is in charge of licensing and merch.
Merch,
so,
right? That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, not ineffective carrying solutions has definitely long been a thing for BattleCon and Exceed. Which we're looking forward to the big box in BattleCon Unleashed, and we hope that it actually serves us, because it, you know, the on the one hand, it'd be great to be able to carry all of BattleCon. On the other hand, if you're carrying all of BattleCon, are you employing a small army to help you, or are you going to throw your back out and die?
No, I understand. Like for example, like I know a lot of people when they organize like their board games and their card games, they get like a Kilax from IKEA.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I don't know if that's the word, but I know what you're talking about.
It's like Kallax, I think it is. I don't know what's the right way to say it.
That's the word.
Yeah, so like for me in my own home, I really want to get now that I definitely need it, because all my games fit before, they do not now. I want to get a box throne. I don't know if you've seen those on Kickstarter, but those, so they're designed specifically for board games, so they lay flat and not upright. Because if you have a lot in the Kallax one, in the IKEA bookshelf, I should say, and they're upright. Sometimes the stuff will get jostled around inside.
Yeah, and that's for board games.
Yeah, so I'm looking at storage solutions just to have them in my home, so I can imagine storage solutions just to travel would be something that you definitely want to look into.
Yeah. Yeah, storing all of Exceed is also like it doesn't make sense to me, at least, to make a storage solution for all of Exceed, because like we're making more of it by the year, so
yeah,
but
you'd want to do something like season-wise or something along those lines.
Like seasonal storage solution, maybe with the space included for the promos for that season, would be really nice, because then you could have like the back of this season, and the people who really hate particular characters can swap them out, you know, whatever. But yeah, that is a running thing. But now you've seen the box, you know what it looks like. It's a box.
Thank you. I feel like I've learned a lot from this stream, so I really do appreciate it.
That's good to hear. I've been delighted to enjoy your company, but I should probably finally actually call it a night. And
yes, I'm so sorry to keep you
please
up.
don't apologize. I had a great time. I'm very, very pleased. I hope we get to do this again.
Yeah, totally. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciated it.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out with me. Have a good weekend.
Yep, you too.
Bye.
Bye.